Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Culinary Creations, how to create your food and business brand and flavor profile. This training is brought to you at no cost because it's funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the US SBA, or the United States Small Business Administration, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Urban Juncture Foundation. I'm Rebecca Chauncey, an advisor here at the Illinois SBDC at Bill Bronzeville, and I'm pleased to introduce you to two of my great colleagues who will lead today's session. The first is Erica Durham, who is a hospitality consultant at our center. She has over 20 years experience in the food service industry. She honed her skills for most of that time as a corporate executive chef. Erica has also spent time as a bartender, a coffee roaster, and a commercial interior designer. Basically, she's been in every part of the restaurant. Erica enjoys sharing what she has learned. We also have Janine Mays, a marketing consultant at our center. She is an experienced marketing communications professional who focuses on sales and marketing strategies, client experience, and operations. Janine received her BA in communications from DePaul University and MS in integrated marketing communications from Northwestern University. It is without further ado, I let you hear from Chef Erica and Janine. Thank you. Oh, one note. If you have questions for during today's training, type them in the Q&A section, which you'll see if you hover or move your mouse over the bottom of your screen. You could type your questions at any point, but we will address them at the end of the session, where that will be specifically tied to Q&A. So we thank you for your patience. In the meantime, remember, if your questions come up as you hear Chef Erica and Janine speak, you can type them in the Q&A section, but we'll address them toward the end of today's training. Let's move forward. Thank you, ladies.
Wonderful. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who has joined today's call. We're very excited to present this training today. Me and Erica do work together at the center. And so there have been different crossovers that we've had for talking about things. And so we're really excited to give this presentation today that can kind of have the insights of marketing, but also tailored to our food and beverage businesses, whether you're a caterer, you make beverages, you want to open a restaurant, wherever stage you're at, we're just thinking of ways to present this to you today for our culinary creations. Okay, so in today's training, we would like to say what the recipe is, but with your secret sauce. So in today's training, we're going to cover 3 essential points. The first one, connecting with your audience. Audience is a word that we're using. I feel like I use it as a marketing word, but I'm sure Erica probably, I think maybe you can help me with a different word for maybe not an audience, but definitely your customer, your client.
Your guests.
Yeah. So like in that type of parameter. So connecting, but fundamentally connecting with those people, what your branding is. And the third and final point, which Erica's really Chef Erica will be the star for this, the consistency of what you can do in your food-based business. First slide, this first suggestion that I was thinking about for connecting with your audience would be content marketing. I've been observing and advising different people in the food-based business, and one thing that I've noticed is content marketing. So if someone's not directly consuming your food or your product, a way to help them stay in touch with your product or think about your product. And so one of the ways that I had noticed that for different marketing strategies, whether it's from, as you see on the left, Food and Wine Magazine, or on the right, a chef based out of New York with the following through his cooking group called Ghetto Gastro. Both of them are providing recipes to their client base. And so it allows you to kind of move forward with being an expert, with providing the recipes, getting people to follow you, because I would imagine if someone's following a recipe of yours, they probably trust, and there's some level of identification that they think that you're expert or you might be really good at making blank. And so with that trust, there's an opportunity to connect with people, to make connections through providing recipes and giving that particular level of content marketing. So I think if you think about different patterns of the way people engage with food, especially in an era where people are online or COVID happened and they're home cooking more, I definitely think exploring recipes with content marketing is a great way. And it really doesn't have an expense associated with connecting with your audience in that way. Some marketing will require some money out of you, but just thinking of a recipe and writing copy that might suggest familiar things, holidays, all of these things, they're great ways to tie into content and connect with people in that way. So moving on to the next step, which I always talk about with social media, in the sense that it's a great tool and it shouldn't be the only asset that you have. But for most people, especially for people in food-based businesses, it's a great way to connect. Me and Erica will talk about this later, but food is also something that's so visually connected with people that you want to see things. You want to see pictures of food when you're at a restaurant. Like, seeing food connects you with the desire for it in a psychological way. And so that is where I believe social media can be an asset for food. And so this is why I wanted to move with social media, because it's such a visual tool. And so you can use social media to share three main things: your skills, your recipes, and staying connected. So on the next slide, it says what it looks like. So your skills are, what your specialties are, your training, that. Recipes, things for people to try, whether they try it at home or they can kind of see how you've made something or how anything can be created, and how they can maybe see the foresight for that and want to order that, want to buy that, whatever that can be, using that as a bridge for sales in your own business. And then the next thing is staying connected. So then you can use social media to communicate your business hours, where you'll be if you're a pop-up business, community building. So for example, that's where some of the demographics can come in. If you're selling things for health-related things or meal prep for weight loss or weight management, whatever your business is or whatever the target you might want to have, it's a great way to have a community building aspect for it. And then also any type of special menu offering. So holidays is one of the first things that I was thinking about. Or if you also particularly might have something that's special for the summer. If there's any type of seasonality that you can offer in your food-based business. So here's one slide of an example of social media that's really gaining in popularity and usage. TikTok chefs for different videos of creating reels and content and growing the business, your social media following exponentially, or at least getting more traction with it because of the short videos, recipes, all of these videos kind of, just looking at them really quickly, can show, you can see what the expertise is, whether it's a guy cutting fish or marinating, we've got a kid making pasta. That quick visual is like a great way to get people to identify what they want to do or what they're interested in, to quickly connect with what you're providing. And then the next step, the next slide kind of shows examples that were pulled from online, from Facebook and Instagram, where on the left, we have people that have the day that they're selling something, what they're having, and where they'll be. Second slide kind of shows the menu offering and the cost, how to place the orders, what they'll have. And then the one to the far right also has like an example of a recipe. So all of these are different ways where this can consistently be used to connect with your audience, guests, customers, just making sure that if you're cooking something or you're selling something, that people know where to find you. And in the instance that maybe you're not having a menu that particular week, it still keeps people informed and front of mind. So this particular slide I wanted to quickly touch on, of connecting with your audience and listening. I would probably say listening is the the shortened word, but the main intention is really having a sense of customer feedback and engagement with the people that are patronizing you. And so with these screen grabs that I got, these are real reviews for businesses based in the city. And so I wanted to just quickly share these because these are all incredible insights that can be used to enhance your business, fix things that might not necessarily work out, but can also provide you a greater sense of brand management of what's being said about your product online. A few times we know that people will go online to share reviews for people, more often or not when it might be bad. But I wanted to present this slide in the sense of this is a great way to think about marketing your business that might not look like a social media ad. So I often will advise customers about customer loyalty programs and referrals as a form of marketing. If you're already doing something really great within your business, that can be your marketing. And so with this, if you're kind of listening to what they're saying, the first one is if someone's pleased with your product, to allow them to request, especially if you're in the early stage, to request them to give you positive online reviews and give referrals, and maybe consider different ways that you can think of referral programs to grow your business. The second one would be to listen to your customer feedback, whether it's solicited or unsolicited. I think as someone who likes to go to restaurants and dine, or if you can imagine scenarios where sometimes it's important to take that with a grain of salt, but also consider that if someone's sharing it, what to do with that information. The third point is something that Erica and I talk about, or will see it, to observe how people respond to your food product. That's key. And the last one is to develop a strategy for applicable and true negative feedback. So I think I wanted to just quickly just touch on this only in the sense of in a marketing perspective, because if someone has a bad experience or an experience that they don't enjoy, that they've decided that they didn't enjoy, to think about it from a marketing perspective, how you can turn this around. Would it be appropriate to send an email or throw in a free site? Thinking about things in those ways help with your marketing and how you connect with your audience. But most importantly, I think that kind of rolls into branding. And so for today, just to think about what do you want people to think of when they think about your food product? And I think it's fair to say that most people want their food service to be thought of in immediate high regard. It's fun, it's the best, there's nothing like it. I think there's an emotional component to food, but triggering in on that emotional component to think about branding. So the points that I would present is one, food photography, making sure that your product looks appealing when it's presented online or in pictures and menus or websites. The next item would be menu items. And I'll also give that to Erica too, but also having items that can show what your true specialties are. The third point being your business name and your logo, that when you have the name of the business, it can sound as close to what you're selling as possible. And if there's an instance where it doesn't immediately translate to what you're selling, to think of different ways of how you can do marketing strategies to help with that, how your logo is designed and how it looks. And then also, I lost my train of thought, but just thinking about the business name is very critical. And then the last point of branding would be the messaging. So with that, if you want your branding to communicate the virtues of the business, to really kind of let that be known in what you say. So if you use farm to table ingredients, use that in your messaging. A lot of the times the ingredients or the cost is what translates to what the cost is on the menu sometimes. And if there is a point of differentiation in what you're offering, to let that be known in the messaging, to share more about like what your story is, again, brand building in lieu of a business name, and then also continuously communicating the value and the esteem of your product. And so with this, my next slide is a great chef for consistency. And I would like to hand this over to another great chef, Chef Erica.
Oh, me? Thank you. So yeah, it is really, it's really important to have a consistent product. That really is your calling card. There's so many times I'm sure that we've all experienced this where you go to a restaurant, you have the best food ever, and then you're ready to go back to that restaurant and it's a totally different product. You can lose your audience or your customer or your guest that same way because they say, okay, well, they're not consistent. You can't trust that they will tell people about you because they don't know what they're going to get each time. So it's very important to really keep that consistency in everything that you do. So I would recommend that you do that through training and portion sizes. So that should be part of your training, that everything is maybe scaled out to, if it's a 4-ounce fillet of salmon, then it should be that every single time. It shouldn't be hand cut, and I like my salmon a little bit larger, so I'm gonna give them a little bit of a bigger piece. It really is important to really just do all those the measurements. And I know when we're at home and we're cooking, and you should always cook from your heart, but when you're cooking from your heart in a business, it's a little bit different than at home. So at home, you're just throwing things in there and tasting it as you go. And unfortunately, we don't have that same luxury to do that in food service. So you do have to just make sure that you're, again, standardizing recipes so that it should taste the same when I make it, or if Janine had to take over for me, she could read the recipe and make it the exact same way. I mean, I do sprinkle a little bit of my imaginary magic over the top, but other than that, I would say keep the recipes pretty consistent. Well, definitely consistent. As far as concise and delicious, I like to use that term. And really with menu planning, I always say just keep it concise and delicious. And what that means is just keep it very simple, but then, you know, something that really represents you, your brand, your food, whatever you think makes you look the best is what you should continue and do. But a lot of times I see people will tend to say, okay, I can make all of these great things, and that's wonderful. But then they have this menu that's 4 or 5 pages long. And that really doesn't serve you, get that, serve you in, in the best way, because you're just kind of all over the place. So it tends to run up your food costs because you have to have all of these different items in the house at any given time. Your labor costs, because now it's going to take more time to produce these items and prep for them. So now you have to pay people to do that. And then really, honestly, even as a customer, I don't like too many choices on a menu. It just becomes overwhelming at times for people, and then they don't know what to order. Sometimes I've even seen it happen where there's so many choices that they opt to go somewhere else because they have no idea of what they should even order. So I think just for yourself and for the customer, it's always best to just really hone in on those things that you do well, perfect them, and I think that's what takes you a long way. Nowadays, though, I will add that there's a ton more vegan and vegetarians, but especially vegans out there in the world. Vegan is the new soul food. So I really want to just encourage everyone to make sure that you're mindful of that when you're creating your menu. So even though I say concise, still keep that in mind, some options. Maybe there's a way that you have a sandwich that could be made into a vegan item just by switching a couple of or omitting an ingredient or two. So this will actually in turn expand your market. There's many times where there's a group that wants to go out to eat, and you know, you have that one vegan customer who feels left out because there's nothing that can accommodate them on the menu. And I want to say when you're accommodating them, also be sure that you're doing it in a thoughtful way. So when I create vegan items, I create them as a meat eater, but then I say, okay, how can I recreate that same feeling that I get from it for a vegan customer? So, gone are the days where you just saute some squash and some red onion and call it a day. You really should challenge yourself to create that same experience, that same nostalgia, because I feel like food sparks nostalgia. People really remember what they ate and made them feel a certain way. So I would definitely recommend that you just keep that in mind. And again, make sure you have items that taste amazing, but just not too many. There's always something called specials that you can use. So to utilize all those other great ideas that you have and just have it as a weekly or monthly special. And that's also a good way to maybe use up some leftovers. Maybe there's a certain you have a surplus of vegetables, or there was a sale that you could get maybe a whole lot of watermelon. Maybe it's seasonal, so there's a lot of watermelon. You say, what can I do with all this watermelon? And then that's when you use your creativity to create these new items, but they're limited. You get them while the things are cheap, and then you get them right out when it's time for winter time. You can go to the next slide.
All right.
Okay, do you have a license to cook? I know I do. And the reason why I ask that is people think, okay, I can cook and I'm just going to just go and cook and sell my food. But one way that you can actually expand your business, which is your dollar, is go get these licenses. First of all, you should definitely be having a manager sanitation license. You can find those on ServSafe, Illinois Restaurant Association, and that's going to be something that you're going to have for your food business. You take that a step further and get your Chicago license, excuse me, because every time any health inspector is going to want to see those things. For you to get these other licenses that I've listed, the Summer Festival Vendor License, 180-day licenses, single event license, you're going to have to start with the Manager of Sanitation license. The picture is actually a little picture of the Summer Festival Vendor License. Every year it's a different color. This year it's pink. And I actually even carry it around in my wallet as if it's my actual real ID, but it's just that small so that you always have it on you. It's really just a good idea to have. I guess I may carry it just if I have a food emergency and I have to jump in and start all of a sudden making food. And Janine, she's holding up hers right now.
It's blurred, but it's right here. Yeah.
One thing you could also think to do is if you were to do an event, so the Summer Festival Vendor License, for instance, is usually March till March. So that's a full year that you get. It's usually around $50, and it will allow you to participate in events outside, like Taste of Chicago, some different farmers markets. And I really feel like it opens you up for another stream of income for your business, because in the summertime, everyone loves summertime shy. So you really want to take advantage of that, the great weather, all of the community, and get into some of these community-based events, some of these fairs and markets. So you're going to have your Summer Festival Vendor License in order to do so. Now, when you want to get into some larger events, you want to be in the Taste of Chicago. You want to, if you have a food truck, you still are going to need this for Taste of Chicago. This is expanding your market, your audience. So you're going to want to get the 180-day special event license. They have one for the food trucks as well. And in order for you to get that, you need to have your manager of sanitation, your summer festival vendor. All of these things go hand in hand. Even the single event, that's basically if I just want to do one festival and then call it a day. So that is much less, but I would always recommend the 180-day, You get that twice a year. That enables you to participate in any event around Chicago for the full year. And I feel like the more, it's $250 typically. And if you were to do 2 events, you've already more than paid that back. So I would always recommend, the single event is $45, but I really do think that it is well worth the $250, because you can be doing, we just had a big festival, the Silver Room Block Party, and you're gonna have to have these things in order to participate. Once you participate, you expand your market. And again, so more people know about you. You can promote on social media, going back to what Janine was talking about earlier. And again, all of these things are just steps that go hand in hand to expanding your business, building your business, and just really expanding your whole customer base.
That's great.
So yeah, when you want to level up, just even reaching back to what I was just talking about, there are different ways that you have a food-based business. There's different ways that you can really kind of use your business. So you can do catering, you can do pop-ups. Some restaurants actually encourage pop-ups for their hours. Maybe they're closed on Sundays. So if you ever thought, okay, I'd like to have the experience and provide the experience of me having my own restaurant, but I don't have my own brick and mortar, this is a great way to do it. You can reach out to these restaurants that may be closed on Sundays, or maybe they're closed early or in the evening. Some restaurants are just open for half a day and they close in the afternoon. So this is just a really great way, again, to use for marketing, use to get experience of having your own brick and mortar, and just even having that pride that you have your own space. You can create your menu, you can test out some of your menu items. Some might be more fabulous than others, and that's a great way to find out really just one-on-one what the customer thinks and get that immediate reaction. Event vending, that's what we were talking about in the last slide. You can do all of these events, the Taste of Chicago, food festivals, the Wicker Park Festival is coming up this weekend. So again, this just opens you up to the whole city, getting more money, getting more customers, building your social media. Next thing is world domination.
Ah, amazing.
And when you're doing these events, make sure that your food photography, like, you really got to get that like on point. It's so important because people are so visual right now. And just speaking to what Janine mentioned earlier, they will look at the food, and if it doesn't look good, well, then they don't want it. So you really, I would, and most cameras nowadays in your phones are really good quality cameras. So I would just kind of play around with it at home. And every time you make anything, even if it's something great that you made for yourself, practice taking pictures, practice editing the pictures, and believe me, there's no heroism in #NoFilter. I do believe in filtering your photographs, because guess what? When you see photographs in those magazines of food, they have all been filtered and edited. So there's no shame in it at all, because you really want to present, you don't want to rely on horrible lighting. Like, I'm not sitting in the best lighting right now, for instance. So you can always just kind of tweak those. It's still you, it's still what you do, it's still your product, it's just better. And people can kind of, it's almost like they're experiencing it in the best lighting possible. So I would definitely just continue to work on food photography. You can use that for your social media, depending on how good it is. Or if you hire someone, then you can use that for your website. But you really want to position yourself in the best way possible to make your brand look the most professional, the most appealing. And, just really, I think people will be encouraged to give you that business. That goes to styling. So maybe you make food, but maybe your styling isn't so great. So even, you can practice and practice and practice, and maybe that's just not where you shine. So I would recommend you look into maybe having someone style your food for you. Typically, if you're hiring a photographer that specializes in food photography, they'll know someone either themselves or they'll know someone who can style the food for you. And again, it's all about just really presenting yourself in the best possible way. Referrals. Once you've done all these things, you've done the catering, you've done the pop-ups, you've done event vending, you have like the best social media, your Instagram is like popping, your TikTok is popping. Now, how do more people find out about me? Well, referrals. So people are going to see you, and they're going to see your product, and they're going to taste it, and they're going to say, oh wow, this is great, I've got to tell somebody about this. And you really want to encourage that as much as possible. Maybe there is some sort of a reward program that you can employ into your business. Maybe after there's a special sandwich that you're promoting, and you say, okay, you buy 5 of these particular sandwiches or 5 of these particular juices this month, then you get a free one. People love free things. I mean, I know I do. And so what really happens is they're getting it for free in their minds because it's all about perception, but they're really not getting it for free because you've already built the cost in to whatever it is that you are using as your rewards program. So do you really think when you go to, some of these bigger coffee chains that they are just giving you product away and they're just taking a loss? They're not doing that. They're building the costs in every month so that it doesn't hurt them in any way. And all it does is it encourages the business, because every time I feel like, okay, I've got to buy 5 of something to get 1 free, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that I buy 5 to get that 1 free. So just really consider doing the rewards programs, focusing on your referrals, constantly really asking for honest feedback from your customers and guests. It might not always feel great if they say something that you don't like, but guess what? That's the way that you're going to grow. That's the way that you're going to improve your product. And, your friends and family, they may, well, depending on the friends and family you have, they may tell you that it's horrible. But for the most part, they'll probably say, oh, well, they'll have a softer touch. I liked it, even if they really didn't. So just going out, getting the honest feedback is only going to make you better in the end.
That's true. I will tell you if I don't like something though.
Janine will definitely tell you. And
Yeah.
that's great though, because again, it might sting in that moment, but you really take that as an opportunity. Take it as an opportunity. There's some people that are going to just, go overboard, and maybe they're just being negative. But if they're truly giving you honest feedback, that's what you want. That's how you grow. That's how you get better.
Yes. And thank you, Erica. And so really quickly, to the point that you just said about referrals in the last slide that you spoke about with the festivals, I took a quick note because I felt like it would be also kind of a section of marketing also with Culinary too. With some of these things, I know we had talked about the audience and we've talked about our food-based businesses. Maybe this can be our part 2, but we've talked about our food-based businesses with the customer, the people that are actually eating your food. But some of the expertise that Erica has touched on in these last 3 slides, and just also from working with her, that I've learned that shareholders in the culinary business is huge. So there's going to be customers that you have that are not necessarily the people that are buying the food. And those can be the people with fellow chefs, shared kitchens, people that are organizing festivals, people that want referrals, people that can do pop-ups and event vending, because they create a very short list of people that can pull off the capabilities of all of the things that we talked about, in addition to the menu being selected and concise and serving people, but also for the sheer fact of professionalism and dependability. So I think some of these slides for different consultations that we've done is that can be the next step. That can also be part of the marketing plan, is doing all of this so that when it's time for people to hire you, or place these orders and do this, that they could feel comfortable and capable about the sanitation, the food safety, the marketing, the menu. All of these things can kind of help you deepen the relationships with people that will be part of your food business. And those are really sometimes the more lucrative network building opportunities that a lot of people know that they want, but might not necessarily be doing or can do more work to gain those relationships and transactions. So I am complete. This is the last of our slide. Erica, do you have?
I too am complete, and I'm looking forward to part 2.
If we have a part, if Rebecca would like to do that training. So we're complete here, Rebecca.
Absolutely. Thank you. Chef Erica and Janine were great as usual. And I could tell we have a very engaged audience. I don't see any questions yet in the Q&A section, but if you would, please, this is the time. Ask your questions. You can type them in the Q&A section. And also, I'll give you the opportunity, if you want to raise your hand, I will allow you to speak, but just raise your hand and you can say your question aloud if you're not in the position to type the question. Or perhaps, as they tend to do, Chef Erica and Janine have shared so much knowledge and you're just processing what you've learned. It's like, wow, I don't really have much to ask at this point. Okay, yeah, it doesn't, I guess everyone is really clear and again, potentially processing what you just learned. If you could benefit from more insight to develop your food and beverage profile and to work with us at the Illinois SBDC at Bill Bronzeville. And if you haven't already done so, you can sign up to become a client in the same platform. So eCenter, where you register for today's training, you can also sign up to become a client, and you can set up an advising session, a virtual advising session with one of us here, including Janine and Chef Erica. So keep that in mind. Since we don't have any questions now, I'll let you have more time in your day. We so appreciate your attention and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. I will send a recording or a link to the recording of today's session and a survey. If you would so kindly complete that survey, because we love to ensure we're providing training that is relevant for business owners like you. And the only way we know that is if you share your feedback. So that's important. And until next time, we'll talk to you again soon, and take care. Thank you again, Chef Erica and Janine, for an amazing presentation.
Bye.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.